Do you know global trade is expected to fall by between 13 and 32% in 2020 due to COVID-19. Almost 1.6 billion informal workers have suffered massive damage to their capacity to earn living during this situation. Every developed country has suffered days where their stock market have crashed and trading was halted. Central banks and governments worldwide have unleashed packages up to $15 trillion to save their economies from entering into turmoil and recession. Do you know why we are talking about all this today? What is the connection between all these news? To know about it, stay tuned till the end of this video.
I never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can.
Welcome back to yet another video of Introspect. In our last video, we started a series to understand what Government of India is doing to protect all of us from coronavirus situation. We decoded 1.7 lakh crore package that government gave. After this package, lot of sections of the society were debating on various news channels or various social media platforms that we didn't get enough, we didn't get anything, probably because the package was meant for the weakest section. We all have been critically evaluating what Government of India is doing to save all the citizens from this situation. But no one tried to figure out whether we even have capability to provide some kind of financial support to each and every section of the society. To understand all this, the primary question is that what economy is actually composed of. So logically, any country has got three key drivers within an economy that can ensure that your economy basically grows ahead. First is people. So households is the very first pillar of any economy that can drive growth, that can ensure that a country basically moves ahead. Second key pillar is government. How strong is government? How much government is actually spending in the economy, and how much that spend that government is doing further giving returns to the government in the form of taxes and increased revenue for people. And third, companies. The private sector is the third pillar, which is becoming stronger and more influential in most of the major economies now. So these three pillars within a country drive growth. The fourth pillar is export and import. How your country basically interacts with others in the world. So these four pillars influence how strong your economy will be. To understand all these pillars and to understand how all these pillars are getting impacted during coronavirus situation, let me take you to my whiteboard. To understand all this, we need to know what are the pillars of any economy. First pillar of economy that we are going to discuss is households. So households basically have three factors that they can offer to any firm. These factors are labor, capital, land. These three cumulatively form part of factor market. Any firm uses these factors to pay revenue or income to households. So that is how this part of equation works. When households get their share of income, they use this income to consume few services and goods from the market, to save some of it, and rest to pay taxes to the government. That's how households, they go to goods market, they interact with goods market for consumption, they pay some kind of tax to the government, and they save some money in financial markets. So that is how households basically interact with all the pillars of the economy. Coming to the second pillar of economic growth, that is government. So key role of government is to ensure that entire economy of a country grows. It is to ensure that the growth is equitable. In order to do that, government primarily focuses on three areas: health, education, and providing infrastructure. In order to provide all these services to the economy and to all its citizens, government also needs resources. So these resources come in the form of primarily net taxes that are paid by households to government. Some part of it also comes from financial market through government borrowings. So even if we go on any central bank website across the world, we can see that these central banks, they manage debt book of government. So they raise bonds on behalf of government, and through those bonds, government raises debt from the market. So that is the part of financial market investment that comes into government. Now, using all this money, government spends in goods market to provide services and to provide goods to all its citizens. For example, building of roads, providing postal services, providing, let's say, even a public sector bank for growth of the overall economy. So all these goods and services are provided by government through taxes and borrowings from the market. By spending in goods market, government is also a major source of employment for a lot of citizens. So that's how it also supports citizens by providing some form of income. Another way in which government supports is by giving some kind of cash disbursements to households. So if we recall our last video where government has budgeted basically total of 1.7 lakh crores, some part of it was to provide wheat or rice to households. Some part of it was to provide ex gratia amount to poorest sections of the society. So all this is basically providing cash or kind transfer to households back. So this part which goes back, that gives net taxes in the form of inflow to the government. The amount which is going out, all of that might not lead to some kind of addition to goods market, because citizens might choose to save a lot of money. If I talk about current situation where there is a lot of fear of job loss or future income, people might save a lot of income that government is providing them. So most of the income that government is putting in the hands of households, that might not get consumed in the goods market. Now coming to the third pillar, that is rest of the world. Rest of the world is one pillar that is outside my country, that is outside the jurisdiction of a country. So that is how a country interacts with the rest of the world. If I have to understand it, basically some part of goods or services that a country consume, that will be exported to other countries. So that is moving out, and that is revenue to my country. While some goods or services that are getting produced in another country, my citizens need them. So that is getting imported. To give an easier example, India is an exporter of IT services. We are a huge IT hub, whereas India is a huge importer of oil and gas. So that is how you are earning some revenue by giving IT services to the world, while you are spending to get oil from outside world. The net of it is the net income or expense for a country. So if a country is net exporter, that means it is producing more than it is consuming within its geography. In a way, it is lending to rest of the world. Whereas if a country is net importer, such as India, so I am consuming more than I am producing, and in a way rest of the world is lending to me, or India is borrowing from rest of the world. So that is how this relationship works. Coming to the last pillar, that is firms. So firms primarily interact with households, as discussed before, in the form of labor, capital and land. So these are the factors that are borrowed from households, and firms pay income to households. The money that firms need to invest and start the business, that is available from financial markets in the form of debt and equity. Now firms make investments in goods market, that is they start producing goods or they start producing services. In lieu of these goods and services, they get revenue. This revenue is net of all the spending that is going to goods market. This net spending is C plus I, that is the investment from the firms itself, G, that is government spending, plus X minus M, that is the total money that is coming from rest of the world, and this entirety becomes revenue for the firms. So the equation we just saw, That is how we define GDP, or gross domestic product. So GDP is actually C, or consumption from households, plus I, that is investment by firms, G, or government spending, plus X minus M, that is exports minus imports, which is coming from the rest of the world. Even the diagram makes it very simple to understand that GDP is nothing but cumulative revenue of all the firms in a country. By now, I hope you understand what is GDP. Now coming to the key question from where we started. How coronavirus is impacting global economies. So basically, it is impacting these 4 pillars of an economy, and that is how it is impacting overall GDP growth. Now let us discuss it one by one. Because most of the countries globally right now are in a situation of lockdown, so all the economic activity has nearly stopped. So when that happens, firms are no longer making investment into the market. So this stops. Because firms are no longer making investments into the market, labor, capital and land is no longer required by firms. But few of them are still paying income. But this segment has significantly come down. So that is how household revenue or household income has got impacted. Because again, we are in the situation of lockdown and even buying is very much restricted. Especially talking about India, few days back, we could only buy essential commodities. So consumption has significantly reduced. So this component that is directly impacting GDP has come down significantly over these past few weeks or months. Because it has come down, I am not even paying enough taxes. When my income is no longer there, I am not paying that many taxes to the government. When government revenue gets impacted, government cannot spend that much into the market. And if they have to increase government borrowings. As discussed in the last video, if government increase borrowings currently, it will be paying this money to households in the form of cash or kind to support those who really need the money. And only some amount of that cash which is going back to the households will go in the form of consumption and finally impact GDP. So the spending of government in productive sectors, that has come down significantly. Rest of the world is no longer exporting. Neither I am exporting to rest of the world. So this segment has almost stopped. So if in totality I look, so all the chains from where I was getting this equation, which is basically my GDP, everywhere it has either stopped or it has significantly come down. And that is where coronavirus is impacting globally. And it is expected that global economy, which is around $80 trillion, might reduce by 3% by end of 2020. So 3% of 80 trillion might look a small number, but that is almost equivalent to size of Indian economy. So the reduction in GDP by end of 2020 can be around $2.5 trillion. That is the impact of coronavirus. So I hope this video helps you to understand how economy basically works, what is the structure of economy and how economy grows. And I think now it's time to go back to our question. Do you think that Indian economy can actually sustain coronavirus? And can Indian government really support all the sections of the society? Knowing the fact that we currently have a deficit of over 4%. So we'll continue with the topic of decoding what Indian government is doing to combat coronavirus situation on the economic and financial front. If you want me to cover any other topic, do let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button. Thank you so much.